Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Alright, so I'm a 4chan noob for starters. I posted once, years ago, asking for pictures of hot chicks posing with tarantulas, and unsurprisingly, got laughed off. So I'm going to do my best to tell you this story. Hopefully I can post it all at once. If not, I guess I'll break it up. Do you guys even have long stories here? I don't know what to put for options or subjects, so blank it is. This story is really important to me though. It's become a part of me, kind of the foundation of what I believe in now, I guess. It's not easy for me to understand if this is supposed to be creepypasta or not, but I want to say right now that this is not a creepypasta or some other kind of fictional story. This really happened to me. I don't know what to expect as a response, but this is 4chan, so I guess I do expect some trolling or whatever. It's all welcome. React how you want to. Ask questions, I don't care. But if there are any serious people who are seriously interested in the paranormal, that would be a welcome relief. Haha, I sound so stupid already. Alright, let's go. I'm going to retell this from my memory, but I have told this story before on the net, and it shouldn't be hard to find, so I don't know. Compare and contrast or something. I was about 14 at the time of this story, so it's been about 10 years. When I was 14, I had never done drugs or anything like that, and I don't have any history of mental illnesses or sleep paralysis or whatever. I'm going to shut that shit down now. What I experienced was not due to some obvious thing you're going to be able to list off after thinking for 2 seconds. I've had 10 years to think about what happened, and although I have some theories that do not include the paranormal being part of it, the non-paranormal theories are stranger than the paranormal ones. So, to say, Occam's razor doesn't always make the most logical answer the correct one if the situation is illogical, if that even makes sense. But I'll get to those theories later. Wow, comment is too long, fine, I'll break it up. Now 4chan posts make a little more sense. So I'm about 14 and was best friends with this dude named Devante. Fuck anonymity, I don't want to censor this shit, it's important. Sorry, D. I went over to my friend's house to spend the night and play shitloads of video games. Nothing weird or out of the normal so far. I don't even remember getting there really or what exactly happened every step of the way, but the basic idea is that we were in the living room playing video games on his PlayStation 2. I'm pretty sure it was 2. We didn't have multiplayer games, so I'm pretty sure I spent most of the day watching him play Gears of War. I think it was the second Gears of War, not sure. But I distinctly remember this part where he was fighting this giant alien on stilts kind of thing, I think. The level, I think. Maybe it was sandy with broken buses. But anyway, that wasn't until way later anyway. The first important thing happens. I'm sitting on the couch and my friend is sitting on the other couch. Me on the left, him on the right, TV down the middle. To the right and behind us was a kind of hallway that connected a lot of stuff. At the very end was the door out of the house. Next to that was my friend's room and the bathroom. Getting closer are the stairs and the kitchen, and the dining room was right behind us, and then the sliding glass door to the deck to the left behind us. I'll try not to add so much detail, I guess, but I want you to really truly understand somehow that this comes from memory, not some bullshit bullet points or something. This isn't fake. I wish I could prove it, and maybe we'll find a way to do that. I don't know. So me and my friend D noticed that his dog is sitting at the bottom of the carpeted staircase and is just staring up the stairs. I don't know exactly how long it took us to notice, but it must have been long enough because it really started to kind of weird us out. It didn't creep us out like we weren't tripping like it was a huge deal. It was just kind of like, huh, that's kind of weird. So Devante calls to his dog and the dog doesn't even look over, just sits there quietly staring up the staircase. It was a male black lab, pretty dang smart and fiercely loyal, like way loyal, especially to my friend. If my friend told that dog to do something, that dog would do it. But D had to call to Rufus several times to even get Rufus to look over at him. But then he looked back up the stairs. It took even more calling to get Rufus to come over to him away from the stairs, and the dog seemed fine. Devante petted him and was like, "Aw, what's wrong?" or something. Who fucking knows? And the dog was happy, I guess, wagged his tail a few times. And then that was that. The dog went back to the bottom of the stairs. We didn't think it was much of a big deal, who would? So we went back to playing games. I think at some point his mom made food or something and we ate, but I'm pretty sure this was the same day that everyone got into this screaming match. It wasn't uncommon at my friends. I was kind of used to being in this uncomfortable situation and just sat there and didn't say anything or do anything while my friend, his sister and mom just yelled and yelled at each other over something probably silly. Shit happens. The reason I am telling this part is because I honestly think it was important after everything I've tried to learn about things like this. I think all the arguing and fighting fed it, and maybe that's what gave it the strength to do what it did next. So, it's late at night. His mom and 2 little sisters went to bed. They were all sleeping in the same room because the youngest didn't sleep alone yet, and the older younger sister, I don't know, she just wasn't sleeping in her room. Me and my friend are playing games still, and this is the part where I remember that part in Gears of War. It was fun to watch, but I was getting really tired, so I said out loud to my friend, "Sorry dude, I'm falling asleep," or something like that, and he groaned in protest and said something like, "No, stay up." But sleep won. I fell asleep. The next thing I know, my friend is shaking me awake. He's practically begging for me to wake up. I remember opening my eyes and just being pissed, just so mad. I looked at the digital alarm clock across the room. Its red numbers, I think, said it was 5 a.m. exactly or something like that. I think it was an exact time, like 5 or 4 or something, and I had passed out around 12 to maybe 2 a.m. He's just shaking me and begging, "Please, please get up, just get up for a second, please, you have to get up, just sit up and listen. Please just sit up and listen for a second." And I saw the sheer terror in my friend's eyes, and I knew something was very wrong. We were jokesters and pranksters, always trying to joke. I'm not saying I knew the difference between my friend playing a joke on me or not, but I knew that this wasn't a joke or my friend secretly took some amazing acting lessons because his fear and terror were unmistakably real. So I sat up, and I'm much more calm, and I'm like, okay, I'll sit up and listen for a second. And then I hear this loud bang and I'm like, what? And then it happens again and again. And I realize what's happening as my friend starts telling me that doors are opening and slamming shut all over his house. I asked him how long it had been happening and maybe some other questions, but not many if I did. He said it had been going on for like 10 to 15 minutes before he woke me up, and he was terrified and didn't know what to do. He was literally petrified with fear. It was like one of those situations in war, I guess, where people are kind of separated, you know? Like fear does different things to different people, and it turns out my friend was the kind that was too afraid to do anything, and he was looking to me to help, to lead or whatever. Which worked out really well because it turns out that when I'm terrified, I go no bullshit. Don't get me wrong, I was scared to death. Doors were still opening and slamming shut. I literally watched as the bathroom door near the front door opened and then slammed shut and latched. It fucking latched. I was analyzing the situation hard. I knew that night it latched. I knew because it was important. It was what separated the possibility of an elaborate prank or bad weather, or this being an actual haunting. There was no wind, no hoax. I saw as nothing, absolutely nothing on the other side of the bathroom door, slowly turned the doorknob, pushed the door open, and then slammed it shut. And it was not fake. It wasn't people hiding throughout the whole house, there's no way. I wish I could describe to you how that door opened. It didn't seem right. Like if you right now push a door open, you know what that looks like, and it's different depending on whether you push and keep your hand on the door the entire time you're pushing it, or if you just give it a quick push and let momentum carry it. If it was some dude hiding behind the door, I would have noticed how the door was being opened and pushed and pulled shut like that. They would have slipped up and been seen or something. But I swear I even saw the knob turn with nothing on both sides of it. Like somebody made a prank door with motors and shit. But they didn't. It was real. It was fucking real. So my friend is on the couch, and he's asking me what should we do. So I start listing out loud to him my thinking process about how we could go to the old church behind his house. But we don't know if we would even be safe there, and it's cold and rainy outside. It was nearing winter in Washington State, and what if whatever it is follows us out there, and my coat and shoes are right next to the front door, which is right next to the bathroom door, and I didn't want to go anywhere near that. I told him we could stay where we are, but that didn't seem to be helping us. I thought if we stay, it's just going to get worse and worse and maybe scarier. Like we might actually see a ghost or something, and I didn't want to live with that imagery for the rest of my life. So I told him that I thought that maybe the only thing we really could do was to go where everyone else was, his mom's room. Even the dog was in his mom's room and had been quiet the whole time this was going on. I'm not sure, but I think maybe I also was hoping that they would be awake and just as freaked out as us, or maybe they were behind it all or something. So we just ran for it. We didn't turn on any lights, so it was dark upstairs. You could see in front of you all right, but it was still really dark. And wow. When I got up off that couch and started to go towards those stairs, I'll never forget that feeling I got. It felt like there was a million floating eyeballs all around me, staring at me from every single angle. I was just watched from all sides. It felt like I was swimming in a swimming pool almost, like I wanted to run so bad but felt so sluggish. It was like when you try to run in your dreams but you don't actually run. Except this wasn't a dream. This was real life. I still don't know if I was feeling the paranormal or if it was the adrenaline, but I think it was a mixture of both, possibly. Whatever it was, it didn't feel right, and I've never felt like that again. We ran up those carpeted stairs as quickly as our feet could gain purchase. My friend was in front, and as we got to the top, his mom's room was immediately to the right. My friend opened the door and then practically shut the door on me. I don't know if it was some kind of defense mechanism or what, but I was like, "Hey," and I heard a little sheepish sorry from my friend. He didn't latch it though, so I just pushed the door open and I made sure that the door actually latched shut when I closed it. It was closed. I turned around and took a quick look around the room. His mom and sisters were all on the bed, still sleeping somehow. His dog was to my left, laying down and looked at me as I looked at him. But he was still quiet, which was so strange. His mom's room was a mess with blankets and clothes scattered everywhere. My friend had dived under a blanket to the right, and so I followed suit. I found a big comforter kind of near to him. My back was kind of to the mattress, and as I pulled the blanket over my knees, the fucking door opened. It opened. It opened. I shut the door. This was not possible, and went against everything I thought I believed in, which was that ghosts were probably fake and nothing existed that science couldn't prove and blah blah. But this went against it all. How could it be possible for a door to open like that? The handle seemed to stay turned the entire time it slowly opened to reveal absolutely nothing on the other side. There was nothing. I thought maybe I would see something, some ink-black monster with red eyes or something, but there was nothing opening the door. I pulled the blankets over my head even, and I officially freaked out. I tried to remember what my grandma had told me to say to get rid of devil spirits, but it like mixed in my head with Family Guy, because there was that one skit where Peter says, "The power of Jesus Christ compels you." And so that's what I said. The power of Christ compels you, over and over and over and over and over and over, for hours. I don't remember falling asleep, which I've never experienced before, and haven't to this day. Sure, maybe you can't remember the exact minute you fell asleep, but you always kind of have an understanding of kind of when it happened. You know, like, oh, it was after that third episode of whatever. Well, I don't remember. I remember saying the power of Christ compels you probably 1,000,000,000 times. I had to urinate so bad, so bad. I think I contemplated just pissing myself and it was so hot. His mom's room was stifling, and I was covered in a thick comforter blanket, and I was paralyzed. I couldn't bring myself to move at all. I think I moved my lips to whisper, "The power of Christ compels you." But that was it. I was afraid if I moved at all that whatever this was just going to yank the blanket off and terrorize me, so I stayed completely still, which was even scarier to be honest. I remember how I got bored, like I was still afraid, but I was also like, OMG, when is this going to be over and done with? When am I going to fall asleep? I didn't dare stop chanting "The power of Christ compels you" on the off chance that was the only thing protecting me. So I think I just passed out at some point. Maybe went into some kind of trance. In the morning, the light through the blanket and realizing that I had finally fallen asleep and had to piss. So I got up. And I realized I was alone. That's right. My friend decided he was just going to leave me to sleep in that room alone when he woke up. after everything we had gone through the previous night. I know because the first thing I did, maybe second, I think I urinated first, was find my friend, and we both tried to confirm what happened at the same time, and we realized it wasn't whatever, it was real, it really happened. He said he left me there alone because he just wanted me to sleep after everything, which was kind of nice, I guess, but still, WTF. We decided we were going to go hang out at my place because screw that. So I don't think it was until we were at my place that my friend told me why everything happened. He said that he and his mom were driving down the road, and he saw a sign on the side of the road that said free. They stopped. It was a Ouija board, but it looked really old. So my friend took it home and of course Googled to see if it was worth money and decided to try to sell it. He chucked it into his room, which he didn't use because it was packed full of shit. Some things weren't even unpacked from moving. He later tried to find the Ouija board to get rid of it, but it was just gone. It was fucking gone. We never found it. It's like after all the shit that happened, it just left somehow. I still don't know what happened. I attribute it to the Ouija board because it just makes sense. Nothing strange happened before it, and nothing strange seemed to happen after either. Like I said, Occam's razor means it was the board. I've had 10 years to try to understand what the hell happened. People have offered me all kinds of possibilities, but it wasn't bad weather, it wasn't earthquakes, it wasn't animals, it wasn't set up by my friend, it wasn't anything. Nothing makes sense. The best theory I have come up with is that it was all part of a hidden camera show, but for some reason, the show got canceled or something, or it was kept a secret or something. It would have had to have been that elaborate. It would have had to have been professionals or some shit. Nothing else makes sense. Except that it was ghosts, or spirits, or whatever it is that people call those things. Maybe it was demons. Another thing I struggle with is trying to understand its intentions. I've found that most of the time, these things are just pranksters and don't want to actually cause any harm. It's just a joke to them. But I don't think that whatever this was just wanted to pull a prank. I think it deliberately wanted to scare us as badly as possible. To this day, I still have trouble sleeping, especially alone. And I absolutely freak the hell out when I'm in the dark. You've got to understand, there was barely any warning to this shit. It just happened one day. It was supposed to just be an ordinary day. And now it's like, I think to myself, what if it happens again? What if something worse happens? What even happened? I'll state one more time. I do not and never have had any mental illnesses. I have done drugs in the past, but none back when I was 14. My friend experienced the exact same thing I did, no differences. I don't have sleep paralysis and never have had it. I've done weed, cocaine, alcohol, Molly, Vicodin, I think Xanax, Malcolm XT, and I tried meth one time. I don't recommend it. But most of those were just one-time gigs except the cannabis, which I still enjoy. So I know I haven't fucked up my mind with drugs to the point that I have false memories or some shit. Me and my friend talked about what happened for years afterward. I don't know what else I can say. I swear it happened in Edmonds, Washington, but it might have just been nearby. I've tried tracking down the exact house this was, but hours on Google Maps has been fruitless. And I haven't been able to even find where my friend is. He dropped off the face of the earth. He doesn't have any kind of presence on the internet that I can find. Just an ancient Facebook and some other shit. But nothing up to date. No way for me to reach him. Haven't talked to him in years. Me and a mutual friend were discussing how we were worried that he's dead, but we are pretty sure he's not because a friend of my friend posted a picture on Facebook or some shit, and he was in it, and we figured out it was more recent than some other stuff. But I bet that dude would be able to contribute a lot to this story. Maybe tell his version. Feel free to ask whatever you want or tell me I'm a liar or whatever.
Give me a quick rundown on your posts, please.
What? Like a TLDR? Alright, so when I was 14, I went to my friend's to play video games. His dog started acting weird, but we ignored it. I fell asleep around 2 a.m. and woke up to my friend freaking out about doors slamming all over the house. We decided to go where everyone else was for safety, I guess. When we got there, everyone was asleep, except us and the dog. I hid under a blanket, but first, I saw a door open on its own, like 2 or 3 feet away with nothing there. I went into a trance quoting Family Guy and passed out. No reasonable explanation exists, unless you count the Ouija board, which is pretty unreasonable, or maybe some absurd hidden film crew. We never found the Ouija board. Also, nobody messed with it. It was just in the house. My friend just wanted to sell it for a quick buck since it was free.
I honestly kind of believe Ouija boards are powerful. This actually supports your experience with a Ouija board. So basically, me, my friend, and my sister made a Ouija board out of notebook paper and lit candles around it and stuff. We did the typical, "Hey, you moved it!" "No, you did," type stuff, even though we were actually faking it and the thing never moved on its own. After a while, nothing happened, so for whatever reason I can't remember now, we folded it up and put it in the back of the freezer. The next day, we wanted to take it back out, but it was completely gone. Nowhere to be found, just like what happened in your experience. Now, don't get me wrong, it could have easily been a family member who had thrown it out or something, but we asked around, and nobody said they had any knowledge of it. After a couple of days, weird, creepy stuff started happening in the room we did it in and the immediate area around it. Hallway, adjacent doors, etc. And I mean things that have never happened in the house before, like our cat would randomly scratch the hell out of the door. This was my sister's room, I forgot to mention, and the cat scratching the door to get inside was pretty common, but now it would scratch on the door and just disappear, like it was never there in the first place. What made me pretty much never even go back anywhere near that door was one late evening when I was walking towards the door to enter a different room, and the completely closed door suddenly creaked open semi-quickly. I immediately ran out of there and pretty much never went near that door again. Keep in mind, there was no wind or pet somehow opening it or anything. It was closed 1 second and opened the next, right as I was walking towards it. Also probably unrelated, but the house I'm talking about is also pretty close to Edmonds, Washington.
I have heard that more paranormal things happen in Washington because the bedrock is composed mostly of limestone, so it's interesting to get another perspective from someone who experienced something there. I live in Michigan now and never experienced anything here except really weird noises in the trees one time, but I had a few weird things happen in Washington. But this story is the most important, because it's so hard to debunk.
Damn, that was a lot of posts to read and little outcome. Kinda jealous of your experience. Also, I've had sleep paralysis a bunch. Try sleeping on your back if you want to experience it.
I'm actually glad I had that experience because it kind of proved to me personally that there's weird shit out there that can't be explained away. But the memory still haunts me even 10 years later. That night was a total shit show. It was legit like a Hollywood horror movie. Even if it was just doors slamming everywhere, it was seriously fucked up. Not sure if I'll be able to do that though. I'm almost exclusively a side sleeper. It's practically impossible for me to fall asleep on my back, but I'll give it a try.
Pic is unrelated. I refuse to post an actual picture of the painting because of the feeling it gives off. A little bit about me first. I'm a male who lives in a moderately small town in the middle of Canada. I'm usually gentle-natured and I like to drink and smoke and all that fun stuff before I had children of my own. Nothing else you really need to know about me. About 4 years ago, a roommate and I were walking home from a party at about 5 in the morning. We were very drunk and in an extremely jovial mood, laughing and joking, bullshitting about when we stumbled upon a couple of boxes of free stuff on the road. Naturally, our drunken selves took a look inside. Nothing super unusual in the first box, but when we looked at the second one, we noticed a painting. It didn't look very old or worn out, but it depicted an old man in a green robe. Looked to be about 65 to 70. He was bald and had very sunken eyes with a Fu Manchu-style beard. He looked like he might have been Chinese, but his eyes were in an in-between stereotypical hunter and prey eyes. When I looked at the painting, especially in his eyes, something felt very off. His expression, if you'd look him in the eyes, seemed very angry and full of contempt, and at the same time, almost regretful. My friend thought it would be funny to bring it home and hang it up for shits and giggles and picked it up. When we got home, he hung up the painting on the living room wall adjacent to the front door. For the first few nights I was sleeping in my room, and nothing strange or unusual happened, other than the fact that I had a hard time looking at the painting or in its direction. I just chalked it up to the fact that it kind of spooked me at first. I've always been creeped out by old paintings, mannequins, dolls, and anything that resembles an effigy of a human that is supposed to be stationary. About a few days, maybe a week after we'd brought this thing over, strange happenings started occurring around the house. Nothing weird has ever happened here before, and we'd been here for 3 years. The first time anything strange happened was when my friend and I, let's call him Mark, went out to the bar after playing some guitar together in the living room for our band at the time. We'd come home, and the window to the door between the porch and living room was completely shattered out. Not even any glass left on the edges. What made this even weirder was the fact that none of our music equipment was stolen out of the living room. Nothing was out of place in the rest of the house. We had thousands of dollars in electronics just laying around. Mark looked up at the painting and noticed that it was crooked, so he fixes it. I didn't chalk it up to much other than the fact that it was -40 outside and on the porch, and that the window was old and weak, so it might have shattered from the cold. I decided to sleep in the living room that night just in case, since there was a second door to keep the cold sealed off anyways. At the time, our couch was positioned right under the painting, and falling asleep with it watching me was next to impossible. I kept looking up to see its sunken eyes gazing right on me. I started to feel really angry about the window. Not a normal kind of angry. I felt extreme bitterness and frustration. I got up to go get something to eat, and the feeling quickly vanished. It's normal to be frustrated about things breaking, so once again I didn't think about it much at the time. I ended up going back to my room and passing out in there. The next while went about as it usually did. It was mid-August, but it was a particularly cool night. My fear of the painting had started to fade into obscurity since it had been around so long. I'd pleaded with my roommate to get rid of it a few times because it was gaudy, but he said he had at least some say about how the living room looked, so I gave up and let him keep it. Though he said that sometimes it looked kind of creepy, he wanted to have it because he thought of it as a memento. Whatever. I'd started sleeping in the living room sometimes because the summers here can get very hot, and it's the coolest room in the house because of the air conditioners in the kitchen next room over. One night I was sleeping on the couch in the same spot, and I started to get into a really violent nightmare. I don't really remember what happened in the dream, but there was a lot of burning flesh and twisted faces, so I'd rather not. I looked up at the painting when I opened my eyes, and it was tilted to the right. For some reason, every time I tried to fix it, it tilted over again, even when I used glue. I eventually gave up and told my roommate it's his anyway, and that he should fix it, so he did, and it stayed perfectly in place the first try. "Well, Anon, I guess he just likes me better," he laughed. I remember I didn't sleep that night and was extremely frustrated and angry to the point where I wanted to jump out of my own skin. I ended up getting up and spending the rest of my night playing video games. The painting ended up remaining after my roommate left that same summer. He ended up leaving it behind. I'm not sure why. I think he might have forgotten about it. After he left, things got weirder. The area around the painting was always cold, no matter how hot it was in the house. The house would get power outages sometimes, and you'd hear doors slamming at random times during the night, only to find nobody there. My girlfriend and I, who'd just begun dating at the time, were staying in the living room on the couch. She'd initially laughed off all my stories about the painting, even though she believed in the paranormal, until we were talking about something, and the painting went crooked. We laughed it off at first, but after I fixed it the first time, it did it again another 3 times, until the last time I got it back. My girlfriend ended up becoming angry with me that night after we'd had a few drinks, which was extremely out of character for her. We had a screaming match. The entire time we were fighting, I kept thinking about the painting and its dark eyes. We ended up making up a few hours later, but she told me that she noticed the painting being weird and that it wasn't just me. At the time, the living room was rearranged, but I didn't go near the corner of the living room. It was on for a while after that, and always tried to avoid looking at it as much as possible. Sometimes I'd swear I'd see its eyes move in my direction if I did. Around January, my girlfriend told me she was pregnant. A lot of weird things were happening around this time. Most notably, I once looked at the painting after getting up to make some food in the kitchen, and as soon as I made eye contact, the power went out. As soon as the power came back on, The painting was tilted on its side again. A few more times after this, the painting would just fall straight to the floor. I would have thrown it away at this point, but every time it crossed my mind, I would forget about it, or something would happen to distract me. This, coupled with the fear of even going near it unless absolutely necessary, meant it ended up staying on the wall for another 1.5 years.
Dude, are you me? I used to have a painting of an old man which I picked up for the lulz because something was off with it, and the eyes looked plain evil and seemed to stare at you any way you look at it. Found it in a second-hand store. They were checking their paintings and actually were about to throw this one out because it looked evil. They sold it for €5. It was a gray-haired old man with a gray mustache, sort of late 19th century type. He looked angry and his eyes seemed like flaming. It must have been old as the plaster frame was crumbling. There was no signature I could make out. Unfortunately, I lost it when I was in the hospital for 6 months while my family helped me move. I think my mom or sister probably didn't like it and threw it silently out.
Be Fleshgate, crawling around my woods by myself. That feel when no friends. Hear a bang. Fast crawl over there. See some guy looking at something in a clearing. I think this is my chance to make a friend. Run up to the tree line. He sees me. We are just staring at each other. Oh fuck, this is awkward. Try to act normal and contain autism. Try to say something, that's what people do. I don't talk much, so all that comes out is a weird hissing noise. The guy is terrified and starts backing away. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Realize I'm still on all fours. He must think I'm some monster. Stand up like a person. The guy looks even more scared. Guy fucking legs it. Feels bad. Forever alone. Go see what he was looking at. My face when I get a free deer.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentexts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.